Hello, everybody. Hope you are doing so fantastic. I'm back. I was gone for just a second there. Did my live show, went to dinner, came back, and now we're live and well once again. I know I just set up the live, so I'll give a sec for people to join up, throw some stuff in the chat. We're going to be watching the Turning Point USA event that happened over the weekend. A lot of juicy moments came out of that. Not really, just speeches from all of the conservative speakers that you're aware of. I was shocked. They are able to line up these events with, really well-known names. I mean, I'll show you the lineup here while we wait for people to join up. Charlie Kirk, Ben Carson, Mike Lee, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Ron DeSantis, Janine Pirro, Rick Scott, Kat Timpf. Don't know who that is. Ari Fleischer, Lori Ingram, Don Jr., Trump himself, Dave Rubin. I don't know who this Byron Donalds is. Greg Gutfeld, Pete Hegseth, Kayleigh McEnany. That's like, the left does not do stuff like this, where all of the big names in your kind of movement come to speak at an event like this for young people of your movement. It's pretty crazy. Like, cool, good. I think it's a good thing, but something we definitely don't have on the left. How's everybody? If you weren't here for our live at 5 p.m. Eastern, where I did the normal show, I did give everyone an update on how my vacation went, why I haven't been streaming. One second. I had a wonderful vacation, but I'm happy to be back. I prefer to be back. No, I loved it, but I love my day-to-day as well. So, okay, well, I say we just go ahead and jump into some of this crazy stuff, and I'll talk to y'all in the chat once more people hop in. So we can just start off with Charlie Kirk, kind of get a feel for what he has to say for himself.
Fox Nation's hits.
Thank you, everybody. Amazing to see all of you. Give it up for that amazing production, the Turning Point USA staff. Is that not incredible? Please take a seat, everybody, and welcome to the free state of Florida, by the way. You'll be hearing from a very special person from actually two very special people from Florida, I should say, in the next 24 hours. I want to thank all of you for being here, from traveling all across the country. And we have Turning Point USA chapter leaders from all across America here. And I get asked all the time, Charlie, what gives you hope? Fails to educate your kids properly?
I don't really care about what he has to say.
That means you have to pull your child out of government schools and do it yourself.
This is interesting. There is this move of, homeschool your children if you're conservative. It's kind of weird. You're just kind of real weird and sheltered kids who have some bizarre beliefs about the world. But, you do you, boo.
By the way, homeschoolers here, how many homeschoolers do we have here? That's just, isn't that amazing? Do you know that homeschooling has doubled in the last year and a half? Is that not most incredible thing? In fact, I think it's one of the only good things that has came out of the Chinese Fauci coronavirus, truly, is the fact that parents...
The Chinese Fauci coronavirus. Interesting.
Finally are understanding the garbage that their kids were learning at public schools and unfortunately too many private schools. You see, at Turning Point USA, what we are doing every single day, through our digital media, through our field program, through our events, is we are dedicating ourselves and our staff and our students and our activists for a full revival of America.
Is my feed kind of choppy right now? Guys? Is it kind of laggy? Or no, is it looking good? Y'all let me know in the chat, please.
You see, this is something they've tricked us into believing, the media and the major cultural institutions. They've tricked us to believe as if we're the ones that are out of the mainstream. Let's make sure we get some facts correct here. They are the invading force. They are the ones that have invaded our culture. They are the ones that have taken over our institutions. They're the ones that have you all of a sudden believing that there's no difference than men and women. They're the ones that are saying that men can become pregnant. They are...
It looks good? Okay. That's good. Weird. Must just be my monitor or something. Are y'all sure it's not laggy? I don't believe you. Huh. What I was going to say is that this is really interesting how so many of these prominent right-wing figures are adopting the language of kind of Tucker Carlson because they've seen it working, and so they're kind of mimicking it, and that's classifying any cultural shifts as some sort of invasion or malicious attempt to, you know, harm the right, when it's like, okay, things are changing. That's what happens in the world all the time. And right now, in a lot of institutions, kind of liberals are more prominent. So, of course, their voices are going to be heard more. But it's not an invasion. What do you mean we're not invading your space. We're just also a part of the spaces that you're a part of, as we've always been. It's as much our country as yours. This is all of our countries, or all of our countries. Country. Oh my gosh. You get the point. It's really interesting.
They're the ones that are making you question deeply understood values that built this civilization. And yes, they have taken over a lot of different... They've taken over so many different portions of American society. But there's still a lot of fight left in the American citizen. In fact, 10 years ago, I was told, Charlie, stop talking about Roe v. Wade. It's divisive. It's never going to happen. And guess what? 10 years later, thanks to a billionaire from New York who decided to run for president that, let's just say, has lived a colorful life, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, Roe versus Wade is repealed. And we were told for years that was never going to happen. You see, we have to understand that the reclamation of America, the reclaiming, the rebirth of what we know is ours is going to take a lot of work.
See, this is something that I don't hear, like, equal on either sides of the political spectrum. That type of rhetoric where it's our country and you're taking over it. I don't hear, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but on the left, it's always like, you know, we have strong beliefs and we want other people to subscribe to them. But like, we recognize that you're a part of that journey as well. And an example of this is one of the big policies people on the left push for is universal health care. We want to give everyone health care. And we think someone who is a conservative who, you know, hates me for being gay should also get health care. But then the right a lot of times frames these issues like it's us versus you, and not just politically, but also in who has a right to this country. And it's like, we're going to take it back from you. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I've noticed that with the rhetoric they use.
Now, I know that at times it could be demoralizing to feel.
Hey, thank you so much, Joe Pierce, for the super chat. A big super chat. You're amazing. He said, "Hi, Luke. Happy Wednesday." Happy Wednesday to you, Joe. I hope it's going well. It's about to be Thursday, at least where I am. About to hit midnight.
Feel as if you're completely and totally outnumbered. That's part of their strategy. Part of their strategy is to make you try and give up. This is exactly why they're so afraid, and look around you, of 5,000 young conservative students in a room together saying, "I love America. I love the Constitution. I'm willing to do something about it." You see, tonight's programming is brought to you by Turning Point Action, our sister organization of Turning Point USA. At Turning Point Action, we get involved in politics and we're able to hold our elected officials accountable. Whereas we are looking deeply and seriously right now at an elected group of people that are so out of touch with where the American voter is. You see, we could call this the new right or the new conservative movement. But I know many of you here tonight, you are so tired, you're exhausted with the Republican Party of Mitt Romney, the Republican Party,
excuse me,
the Republican Party that always is capitulating to the left. Why is it that the Republican Party in Washington, D.C. is quick to go send $56 billion to Ukraine, but Donald Trump couldn't get $5 billion to go build a border wall? If you ask me, our borders matter a lot more than Ukraine's borders, and we need to defend our country first. It's a conservative movement that's willing to talk about election integrity. It's a conservative movement that wants...
No, you know what? You are doing the opposite of election integrity. You want to completely undermine the integrity of our elections by saying that an election that wasn't stolen was stolen. There is nothing that undermines our democracy and our elections more than falsely claiming one to be fraudulent and building a whole movement around the belief that an election was stolen that wasn't. So when they pretend like falsely claiming the 2020 election was stolen is a way of trying to have secure elections, that is just completely the opposite. Of course, we should have elections that are secure and have minimal fraud and all those types of things, but pretending elections are stolen just because you lose them is not doing that.
Fair and free elections. It's also a conservative movement that's willing to say, you know what, I don't think it's a good thing that the Chinese Communist Party and Bill Gates are buying up our farmland. It's a conservative movement that's willing to talk about the Great Reset. It's a conservative movement that's willing to talk about how there's a global game playing out of open borders and destroying our currency. And guess what? This is the conservative movement you're going to hear from in the next couple days. We're willing to say something that previously people have been afraid to say. That we're not dealing with the other side that wants what's best for America. You see, this is a hard thing for some people to say. I do not think the American Democrat Party loves America. I do not. The American Democrat Party...
I love when people do that. This is a hard thing to say, and I'm going to say what literally every single conservative says all of the time, which is that people who disagree with them hate America. I'm so brave. I'm going to say it.
Party wants to teach 7-year-olds radical transgender curriculum. They're okay with 11-year-olds getting chemically castrated. They have allowed over 5 million people to come across the southern border. They're okay with critical race theory in our schools. Inflation is a strategy to destroy the American middle class. And I want every Republican official to say, I will not vote for another bill in Congress until we understand and realize we are not dealing with another political party with good intentions. They want to destroy the country. Why doesn't our own party start to recognize?
Why? Please answer. Why do you think the left wants to destroy the country that they live in? Yeah, because I say some pretty, intense statements when covering stories like the modern radical right that supports Trump's election lies are anti-democratic. But I don't just say they hate democracy and leave it there. I say because, or this is how, you are an honest actor. Is you say they are not for our democracy. But here's the explanation. They're not for it because it stopped working for them. They're no longer in the majority, as we saw in the election that Trump lost. And so now, instead of respecting our democracy and accepting their election loss, they built an entire lie around the election being stolen, which makes them anti-democratic. But with them, he just throws out, they hate America. Why would we, or they want to destroy America. What would be the benefit to us to destroying America? Please explain that. Joe asked, Luke, maybe you can explain what do you think they mean when they say teach transgender? Oh my gosh. They mean, like, it depends on the person. If you're talking to a really honest conservative, they would probably think that means like teaching what they would call radical gender ideology or whatever. So teaching kids who are young about topics relating to transgender people. I think some conservatives, though, honestly just think that means at all mentioning that trans people exist. But I will say, I think there's a real conversation, like, when do you start discussing concepts that are somewhat complex, like the difference between gender and sex and the expression of these things and all of these matters of identity. I don't think that's a topic that's necessarily relevant to someone super young, and I don't think most progressives are pushing for that. I think it's more like there shouldn't be any stigma around gay and trans teachers and mentioning, like, the example people always use is if you're a gay teacher and you mention your husband, just like how all of my teachers throughout elementary school mentioned their spouses. There should be no fear of retribution there, and stuff like that is what progressives are, I think, defending. If people are saying, let's, like, open up the college gender theory books for kindergartners, then yeah, I would disagree with that too, but no one's saying that.
And realize that. It's starting to change, though. You know why? Because you're now in charge of the party. You're now in charge of the movement. You
Bye,
see,
Scotty.
For the first time in my generation, thanks largely to President Donald Trump, this is now a people's party. You see, the Republican Party is winning 25-plus points, victories, turning them around in the Rio Grande Valley that were once Democrat strongholds. Hispanics are coming in record numbers to the Republican Party. You see, the Democrat Party, they are bringing in white, woke ideas to communities where these are deeply and terribly unpopular. But this is a testing moment for the Republican Party.
So you know how people say, like, a lie often has a nugget of truth. Let's extract the nugget of truth from what he just said. White woke ideology is being brought into communities. I think he was, saying communities of color, minority communities, and that's part of what's causing the higher numbers of, for example, Hispanic voters and black voters for Trump than before. They're still overwhelmingly going for Democrats, but than previous Republican candidates, which is true. So what's the nugget of truth out of that? Do some, like, wealthy, woke liberals get in the way of the broader progressive movement by trying to, like, word police and saying the most important issue is this and this and this when it's really not, and ignoring, like, the economic concerns of people, and being all obsessed with only, like, the newest woke concept or debate, and not bringing it back to issues that affect everyone? Is that turning off some voters? Possibly. I think there's a sentiment, especially in communities that tend to be more moderate Democratic communities, where that is definitely turning people off. because a good example of this is in certain important like high percentage black areas that tend to vote very Democratic, they're also very moderate within the Democratic Party in their views on different things. So bringing in like this super far left conversation, I think can actually turn some voters off for sure. So that's a negative truth, I think, of what he just said.
One is that how many times have you been told something nice from a politician and they go to Washington, D.C. and they do the exact opposite?
Like when Trump said that he was going to give health care to everyone, and when he said that he was going to, I guess something they would care about is build a wall across the entire southern border. Is that what we're talking about? No, Trump was able to get it all done, sure.
We're not going to...
Or that big infrastructure bill Trump said he was going to pass?
Put up with that anymore. We are the sovereign in this country. We give the power to the politicians. And if a politician stops doing what he or she said they were going to do, then they need to be primaried and removed from office. We need fighters that are going to go to Washington, D.C., not just more of the same. And as I mentioned, if we look at the left and view the left as an invading force, you have to ask yourselves the question, how do you beat a force that has invaded your country?
What are you talking about? That is so unhinged. You're saying the left as a whole is invading America? No, we are America, just like you're America. We are all collectively the people that make up the United States of America. So no, we're not invading it. We just have differences of opinions. That's just so...
We have to outwork the competition. We have to outthink the competition. We have to outlast them. And yes, we have to outbreed them. That's right. Have lots of children. They're in the business of trying to kill children in the wombs and tell kids not to have kids. Have lots of children, everybody. Eventually, we're going to win. You see, they have come to what we care about, what's precious, what is good, what is beautiful, what's true. We live in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world, everybody. And they are the ones that are coming in to our classrooms. They're the ones that are teaching us differently. You see, somebody asked me the other day, they said, Charlie, what does all of this have to do with you? Why do you care about America so much? How does it impact you? And that's exactly what's wrong with how we talk about politics.
Charlie, why do you care about America so much?
The politics shouldn't all be about you. It's about your children. It's about maybe your grandfather that fought in World War II. Maybe it's about children yet to be born. Maybe it's about a nation that you grew up loving and admiring. Maybe it's about honoring the sacrifice of Iwo Jima and D-Day.
Thank you so much to Joe for another super chat. You're amazing. He said, fun fact, MTG is my hometown, lol. MTG, as in Marjorie Taylor Greene, like in your hometown or from your hometown? That's crazy.
Day. Maybe it's about honoring the brilliance of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. Maybe it isn't about me. Maybe it's about something bigger than myself. It's about a nation that exists on everlasting, eternal principles. The most benevolent, generous, productive nation ever to exist in the history of the world. And yes, we are the strongest nation ever to exist. But guess what? They're trying to make us stop being the strongest nation. This is why they're afraid of us. They're afraid that the citizen of all different political stripes, the moment that we stop being passive and we start being active, they get terrified. Whether it be recalling the district attorney in San Francisco, whether it be holding school board members accountable in Loudoun County, whether it be running for local office, the moment you said, I have enough, all of a sudden they realize the jig is up. And if we're honest with ourselves, we have allowed them to get away with this for 50 years. Post-World War II, things have been great. There's been ups and downs. But finally, I think we're starting to realize that the way we defeat this invading and occupying...
him? I said we call it a day on his speech. and go to one of the more like headliners. Whoops. Here we go. All right, let's see. What do we want to watch? Do we want to catch Holly, or do we want to go to Ted Cruz? Let's go to Ted Cruz. Let's see what old teddy bear has to say.
Wow! I'm told that there's a dangerous bunch of radicals gathered in Florida.
Listen, Ted Cruz is one of the people I dislike the most, but he looks good in that jacket. Let's just be honest, that jacket is working for him.
Peacefully overthrow a communist government.
Wait. Whoa. What did he just say?
Seeking to peacefully overthrow a communist government.
Which government? He better not be referring to the United States' government. We are far from a communist. Why do they even use these terms? They don't know what they mean. Oh my God. You're literally existing in a very capitalistic economy. That just when you walk out after this event and go to some capitalist store, you should recognize that what you said was stupid. Oh my gosh. Plus, obviously, the democratic side of it too. That's just the economy, but we also exist in a flourishing, no, not flourishing, but a democratic republic that is far from communist.
Run by imbeciles and nincompoops. And so God bless each of you. We are gathered at a time of extraordinary challenge. I want to say two things to you today.
I think we talked about with the last Ted Cruz speech at a Turning Point event. Maybe it was something else. Has he lost weight? Wow. Ted Cruz really does strike me as someone who went to politician school and learned how to be a politician and wasn't that great at it. The way that he speaks is so fake and so scripted and stuff like that. It's interesting. We are gathered here today in a moment of incredible peril. It's like, I know that's not what he said, but that's the vibe.
A word of encouragement. I'm here today to encourage you, to bring a word of hope. The first thing I want to say is America is in crisis. This is not normal. We have a president who shakes hands with the empty air. We have a president who talks to the Easter Bunny.
Just to be clear, everybody, about the shaking hands thing, y'all all saw that. He was pointing to a crowd and pointing to another crowd, going like... It was very obvious, but then they cropped it where you couldn't see the crowd, so then it looked like he was shaking nobody. Just a very, very dishonest. Is Biden mentally declining? Yes, absolutely. Do I think he should run for re-election? No. I think he's definitely, in his old age, kind of, his mind is operating a lot slower than it used to. But let's just be honest, okay? Let's not pretend that things happened that they didn't. So if you want to criticize him about his mental capability, fine. Don't make up stories that didn't happen the way that you're describing them.
Between Biden
and I have no clue what he means by he talks to the Easter Bunny. Don't know what that means.
And Harris and Pelosi and Schumer, the Democratic Party has lost its mind. It actually is incredible how the Biden White House has managed to get everything wrong. That's impressive. You would think if they rolled the dice just by accident, they'd get something right. Every single thing they touch goes to crap. We've got prices skyrocketing, inflation is out of control, food is skyrocketing, electricity is skyrocketing, healthcare is skyrocketing. It is so bad, Antifa can't afford bricks. It's gotten so bad, Eric Swalwell can't afford Chinese dinners. It's gotten so bad. AOC can't afford fake handcuffs.
He's so proud of himself. None of that was funny. I'm sorry. That was just that.
Gas prices are out of control. Crime is out of control. Did you see that lunatic that tried to assassinate Lee Zeldin yesterday? This is the result of the left encouraging mob violence, celebrating mob violence, celebrating violence, celebrating threats at the home of Supreme Court justices.
Who? The guy who went to Brett Kavanaugh's house, we talked about it. He got arrested. I'm glad he did. You shouldn't try to assassinate public figures. Who's celebrating? I'm so confused. And if they are, they're idiots. Obviously, we shouldn't be assassinating public figures. That's stupid. It's bad. But you're making us out to be the ones who are pro-mob violence? You had a mob try to prevent the certification of an election by storming the Capitol, and now you included a bunch of people try to cover for it and pretend like it wasn't that bad. Okay, we're the ones who are pro-mob violence.
This is the result of years of demonizing cops. This is the result of Kamala Harris bailing out of jail violent rioters burning American cities to the ground. And then, of course, the guy who attempts to murder the Republican candidate for governor in New York gets let out of jail hours later. This is nuts. This is insane. You look at our southern border, it's never been as bad as it is right now. Over 3 million people crossing illegally. I was down the southern border just last weekend. I brought 7 senators down to the Rio Grande Valley to see firsthand what is happening. The chaos, the suffering, the misery. I met with ranchers who showed me photograph after photograph of dead bodies they'd found on their property, day after day, week after week. We went out on midnight patrol with the Border Patrol. Tell you, one time I went out on midnight patrol with the Border Patrol. They went and kicked in a stash house, pulled out some really sketchy looking folks. One big guy, muscle shirt, tatted up. You got all the Border Patrol agents calling to me. They're going, Senator, come over here. I'm going, okay, ixnay on the editor say. Just call me Bob. But when we went out last weekend, within minutes we encountered groups crossing illegally. You don't have to go look for them. It is a constant stream of humanity. We encountered a group of 12, mostly women and children. 2 7-year-old girls. Both unaccompanied minors. Neither had a parent with them, neither had a family member with them. They weren't sisters. They were in a group of strangers, and they had just taken a long journey in the hands of violent drug cartels. On the ground, we saw colored wristbands, because every illegal immigrant crossing the border wears a wristband with the color corresponding to how many thousands of dollars they owe the drug cartels. You can just pick them up. There are hundreds of them on the banks of the Rio Grande. These children come in debt to violent drug cartels, and then Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fly them to every city in America. This last week,
You want to say the other side of that? And then you want to turn those kids around. And I have no clue at all if this thing is true. So I would take that with a grain of salt, what he's saying. But, and you're for turning around, innocent children looking for a better life and letting them probably die.
we saw the mayor of New York City and Washington, D.C. saying illegal immigration is a problem. No kidding. Maybe they could pick up the phone to say their own damn party to stop it. This is human slavery. Because these teenagers that come over, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris fly to your city, every city in America is a border town, and Biden and Harris are the last mile of the human trafficking network. These teenagers arrive in your city in debt to the cartels and working for the cartels. The boys are dragged into a life of crime, and they have...
So none of this is silly. Okay, so it's not silly, but here's the point I'm trying to make. One of the things that they cite a lot is one, that immigrants take your jobs, which is not borne out in the research at all. And the second thing is, and by the way, immigration is super good for an economy. The second thing is illegal immigrants become criminals or are criminals. But when you look at a stack up of crime rates, every group, illegal immigrants have the lowest crime rate in America. And then legal immigrants, and then down from there. So that's just not true. But do I think people should be immigrating here illegally? No. I think we should have a better process. And yes, are some people going to have to turn around? Yes, some people aren't going to be able to come. But we should have a good and efficient process so that we aren't seeing a situation where all of these people are not in our system and living in the country. Joe Pierce said, going back to he looks good in his jacket comment for a second. It does not be Madison Cawthorn. Lol. Oh, gotcha. Going back to your he looks good in his jacket comment for a second. I see what you're saying. Yeah. And then you're saying it's not Madison Cawthorn. Well, yeah, Madison Cawthorn, is obviously... Looks are not relevant in politics, but I'm just trying to give Ted Cruz a compliment. That's all I was trying to do, is that he has a good jacket on.
Have it better than the teenage girls, many of whom are trapped in sex slavery. This is horrific.
Joe Pierce said does not compare to Madison. Gotcha. Yeah, I feel you.
It is wrong, and the Democrats don't care. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, Ted, you said you were going to encourage us. You really suck at this. Well, I told you I had two messages. Here's the second one. Revival is coming. I believe that with all of my heart. All over this country, people's eyes are opening up and they realize this is a mess. There's a natural pendulum to politics. Inevitably, one party gets in power, they go too far one direction. And the American people say, hold on a second, and they pull it back the other way. Every time this administration does something idiotic, or every time they put Kamala Harris on camera, although I repeat myself, they are driving people to say socialism doesn't work.
Okay.
socialism sucks. You know, for a lot of Americans, prior to Biden being sworn in office, socialism sucks was just words on a t-shirt. Now you can hear the thunder in the sky.
See, he says that, but they literally pretend like they haven't been in politics for years, saying that we were under socialist regimes every time Democrats were in power. It's like, you know, it used to be not serious, but now it's actually socialism. Really? Because everyone was saying Obama was socialist. So, not everyone. The right was saying Obama was socialist. And Biden too.
And I got to tell you, there are a few things that reveal character, like crisis. This COVID pandemic, we saw idiot tyrants shut the country down, shut small businesses down, shut churches down, shut schools down, all while they partied on their own. But I got to tell you, he does, and he's not alone. I got to tell you, though, people can tell. People aren't stupid. All right, let's take for a minute mask policies. Has there been anything more idiotic on its face than mask policies? All right, let's review the rules. So back when you had mask mandates in place, the rules, if you walked in...
They can't get off of it, you know? I think he was probably making the same joke at the last turning point of it. The mask mandates are gone, bro.
To a restaurant. You must wear a mask because people are going to die. You must wear a mask until you sit down. Then you take your mask off and everything is safe and fine. Because of science. And actually, I've got a theory on this.
He's so agitating.
The COVID virus reacts to altitude.
He really thinks he's funny. Okay. You want to just break... You know, we're just going to break this down. Is there some level of silliness to walking into a place and taking your mask off right when you sit down? Yes. But is there some logic to it as well? Sure. Let's walk through this. You walk into a restaurant and there's all of these people waiting in the lobby, all these strangers, and you're passing by a bunch of people's tables and you're interacting with the hostess who's walking with you, and you're passing by people who are walking to the bathroom. So having a mask on during that time is a good idea. Minimize spread. You sit down at a table. A lot of restaurants had tables spread out. We know that the particles only go so far. So then once you're seated, not moving around a bunch of people, only with the little unit you walked in with, you can take your mask off. Are you still threatening the people that you came with and around your little table? Yes. Are you still threatening the waiter who usually had a mask on though? But still, when they walk up, yes. So is it completely safe to go to a restaurant whenever the pandemic was raging? And even now, technically, no. But is it more safe to at least have it on while you walk in so that all those strangers that you pass by don't get your particles as you walk in, and only the people around your table and your waiter get hit by your stuff? Yes. Oh my gosh, it does look like he's hailing Hitler. What the heck? Anyways.
6 feet, it is absolutely deadly.
Plus,
at 3 feet.
How are you going to wear a mask while you're eating? That's part of it too. Yes, it's sort of unsafe to go to a restaurant during a pandemic. That's why they were completely closed for a while. But then having it on at least while you're walking into the lobby, passing all these people, is better than nothing.
It's harmless. By the way, that's why Fauci's safe. He's only 5 feet tall. Or how about the rule on airplanes? It used to be, you must wear a mask, save people's life, you horrible animal. unless you have a peanut. And if you have one peanut, take your mask off, gargle loudly, chew on the ear of the fat guy sitting next to you. It's all fine.
What does he do on planes? Okay, again, is there a risk when you take your mask off to take a bite of food to eat? Yes. But think about it. If you have your mask off an entire flight and you go, boom, onto somebody. If you're sitting there breathing the entire time, the chances that at some point enough hits someone that it gets into their, the word that came to mind was holes. It gets into their holes. Yes. Or if that's likely. But if you only slip it off to throw something in your mouth and then you put it back on, is that safer? Yeah. They literally act like they don't understand basic concepts, and then that's owning us. What? That you're crushing the left by pretending to be stupider than you really are. If you thought about it, it would make sense.
Why? Because peanuts cure COVID. And by the way, to the reporters in the back who are sitting there going, ooh, misinformation, look, he's lying. No, you numbskulls, I'm not saying peanuts cure COVID. I'm saying this was all garbage, and everyone knew it was garbage from the outset.
What does that even mean? And to the Life Aquatica in the chat, who said if COVID turned out to be more deadly, more people would realize they need to wear masks. I don't think you, how to say this in a nice way. I am feeling like I'm not, we are nice tonight. A lot of people don't care about numbers until they feel, and statistics and data, until they feel the effect of that data in their own life. Some people only operate off of personal experiences. So, in the example of COVID, a lot of people will see it being very deadly and hundreds of thousands of people dying, and it not really affect them. So they won't wear a mask. And then they'll really care, as we've seen a lot of examples of people changing their mind on vaccines and stuff on their deathbed, once it affects them personally. And so the people who say, hey, if it was so deadly, people would just take all the precautions, you wouldn't have to mandate them. Well, unfortunately, people aren't that... People don't buy into the broader social good as much as they probably should a lot of times. And so it'll be too late by the time they care about how deadly it is, because it would have killed them, because they only care if it kills them or if it kills someone around them. Anyways, the Life Aquatica, if you want to talk about that, feel free to come on. Yeah, it's the same, like Joseph said, it's the same reason why people don't care about climate change. It's like, it doesn't affect them, or it isn't yet affecting them enough for them to care. And a bunch of data and numbers on pieces of paper can't get through to them.
But I got to tell you, people see this and they realize its idiocy. Their eyes are opening up. And in November, we're not just going to see a wave, we're going to see a tsunami. I can tell you I'm devoting myself to three things. Number one, standing up and fighting every dumbass thing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi do.
Don't his hands look really small right now?
When they push to spend trillions of dollars, when they want more debt, when they come after our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, when they come after our right to free speech, when they come after our right to religious liberty, when they nominate crazy judges and crazy radicals, I'm proud to stand up and fight them over and over again. How many of y'all saw last week in the Judiciary Committee Professor Crazy Eyes? This is the Berkeley law professor who kept making reference to people with the capacity for pregnancy. It really is bat crap crazy. Like the left, you are no longer allowed to say, here's a radical statement, okay, trigger warning. Women exist.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Most people who are progressive still refer to women when talking about abortion rights. As we discussed in the video on that particular professor, when being uber precise, you can say people who get pregnant, because there are exceptions. Not all women can get pregnant. A lot of women are infertile. And also trans men, and also certain intersex people, etc. But still everyone says women. Like, we all refer to when we talk about abortion, women have a right to choose. Like, shut up. You don't actually want to give an honest representation of what the left believes if you're saying that nonsense.
Like, what the hell is wrong with you idiots? This is not, they've gone to crazy town. By the way, when Ketanji Brown Jackson was up for nomination, there was a reporter who ran up to me all excited and he said, "What is a woman?" And I turned to him and said, "An adult female human being?" And he looked at me completely befuddled. He said, "Wait a second, that's actually the dictionary definition. Did you look it up?" Like, no, I just speak the English language. By the way, if you'd like an alternative definition, I can give you one: a Homo sapien with 2 X chromosomes. This stuff ain't complicated, and yet, the more crazy they get, part of me, every time they do something
This is so stupid. We spend hours upon hours, days discussing the topic of trans people when it's just, we could all easily agree, okay? Now, is there some larger conversation around the management of trans children, because there's a lot of, questions, because parents have to be involved in that, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's definitely, I see why that's more complex in any sort of treatment that you seek for that, because like I said, parents and all that type of stuff. But separate from that, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about like definitions and stuff. Guys, it's so easy. If the right doesn't believe in the same sense that gender is like what we believe it to be, we all still agree there's biological sex. You come into the world, most people are either male or female. That has a lot to do with your physical makeup. And even every conservative I've talked to recognizes that some people come into this world with a misalignment where they, have a physically male body or physically female body, but everything about their, identity, existence and stuff feels like that's wrong. And that's a really, really tough situation to be in and causes you a lot of mental anguish, namely gender dysphoria. Even conservatives will agree that that is a phenomenon. So all we're saying is let's love and support those people. And we don't have to do this whole thing about the definitions. Okay, if one group wants to say trans women are women, and you have an issue with that, just hush up and say trans women every time you refer to them. It's just like so much screaming past each other / them not wanting to hear what we're saying. We're not saying we don't recognize that there's biological sex. Nobody's saying that. Okay, if someone's saying that, they're stupid. But, you know, the vast majority of even people who are very far left very much recognize the biological differences between males and females. Then there's people that we want to love and support who happen to have a particular situation based on the gender they identify as, not so much aligning with their biological sex. Okay, just stop acting like it's this impossible thing for you to understand. And it's, oh my God, they've completely fallen off the rock. We're just trying to create a situation where the language we use is the most accepting for the most amount of people. And so if you walk around and just like, okay, you get the point. I could rant about this forever. Just the amount of time that's spent screaming from right-wingers about this issue when they aren't even addressing the arguments that we're making. It's really just about being loving and compassionate and supporting towards people. Like, that's it. It's really not that hard.
Ridiculous. Part of me weeps, but part of me celebrates. Because it is accelerating the country coming back. It is opening eyes. I promise all of y'all on campuses across the country, your classmates, even if they're scared to say it, are looking around thinking this stuff is nuts. I talked to a student recently at one of our woke college campuses who said she's required in every class to introduce herself and to give her pronouns. Well, I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
Did he just transition from being a man to a kiss my ass gender? Is that what just happened in front of us? This is all they talk about. They're obsessed. Okay, to be as, like, I don't know why I keep flinging my head back. I'm really irritated. To be as genuinely, like, trying to put myself in their shoes as possible. Are there people on the left who take the stretching and changing of the concepts people are used to too far? Sure. I'm sure some of this, I haven't like done that much study on it, but some of the stuff in, you know, academic circles or college courses about gender theory is probably a little out there for most Americans. Is that the goal of the trans rights movement, is to make everyone think of the deep and complex and abstract nature of gender? No. That's an interesting conversation and an interesting topic, but we're just pushing for basic compassion, recognition of people's humanity, and social awareness. I say it all the time, like if someone asks you to call them by a nickname, like, hey, my name's Jackson, but call me Jack, and you refuse to and only call them Jackson, you would just kind of be a douche, you know? Like, you would just be a jerk. No one's arresting you, but I probably don't want to be friends with someone who just refuses to call me by the name that I prefer, right? In my case, if someone refused to call me Luke, it would be like, what? Like, let's say that my name was Luke, but I wanted to go by Luca, okay? If you walked up to me and said, no, on your birth certificate it says your name is Luke, so I have to call you Luke because that's the facts of the matter, it'd be like, oh, cool, so you're just kind of like a weird person to hang around. I don't really want to be your friend. You know, like that would just be the end of it. But for some reason, blatantly refusing to socially get along with people is like fun and a part of the rights movement, I guess. Like when it comes to gender, treating people the way that they are requesting is horrible. And it's the breakdown of society. You know? That's what gets this standing ovation? Wow.
There's a second thing I'm doing, which is crisscrossing the country, campaigning for candidates all over the country. Candidates for the Senate, candidates for the House. I think it's incredibly important, number one, that Republicans retake majorities in Congress, but number two, that when we have a majority, we actually do something with it. You know, don't behave.
Doug, tell me why you asked me that question. Please tell me why you asked me that question. I'm getting freaked out.
Behave like a light beer version of the Democrats. And so, between now and Election Day, I'm going to be on the ground campaigning, supporting candidates to elect strong conservative leaders with backbone. I was going to say, and balls, but I don't know if you saw the National Women's Museum currently has the biographies of 3 men on it.
Oh, it's a song. Okay. Oh, I thought you were trying to find me. I realized my window's open right now. Not my window, but my blinds. And I'm like, oh God. Am I being stalked? No. Cool. We're good. Never mind.
Talk about the balls on them.
Do you notice that somehow in the conservative movement, at least this brand of it, it's become completely acceptable to talk about other people's genitals as long as they're a trans person? It's like, oh, we can talk about Elliot Page's surgery and refer to, you know, the removal of his breasts. Like, that's an appropriate thing for Jordan Peterson to scream about. And for him, talking about that. It's like, wait, why are you concerned with other people's genitals again? Why do you care about other people's genitals, even if it has to do with them having a surgery related to them? Why are you talking about it? Why are you at all concerned? Let other adults choose what to do with their own body. What the heck?
And I want to encourage each of you, use your voice. Use your voice to speak up. Use your voice to engage. Use your voice to volunteer. Use your voice to educate. Every week I do a podcast. It's called Verdict with Ted Cruz. We launched it 2.5 years ago. It became the #1 ranked podcast in the world. We've had over 40 million downloads. We get more downloads than CNN gets on their morning show. So I want to ask everyone here, you have your cell phone? Take out your cell phone and text the word verdict to 24005. Let me give that to you again. The number is 24005. Text the word verdict, and what that's going to do is give you a link to subscribe to the podcast. Give you a link to listen and be part of the conversation, because look, one of the incredible benefits and blessings of Donald Trump's presidency is that it utterly unmasked the corrupt corporate media. It rendered them naked and bare, and in Chris Cuomo's case, that's really frightening. We know that they're
What? I'm so confused. Now we're talking about Chris Cuomo naked?
Honest, that they're liars, that they're propagandists. And that means all of us have a responsibility to go around the corrupt corporate media, to communicate directly, to communicate with facts, to communicate with substance, to communicate the truth. Your classmates are starving for truth. Verdict we've taken on travel to college campuses all over the country. Students are eager to hear the truth. And let me say, the left, they're angry. They're shrill. How many radical leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb? That's not funny! Like they're such humorless prigs. By the way, I asked that one time in a group. A guy in the back called out, well, how many does it take? I said, actually, nobody knows. That would require work. But when the left responds like some horrible schoolmarm on crack, don't respond in the same way. Respond with joy, with laughter. Laugh at them. It drives them crazy.
Okay, I'm done with him. Let's do somebody else.
There's a meme online.
There's a meme. Okay. I don't really want to see DeSantis, to be frank. I do want to see Don Jr. hopped up on who knows what.
How's it going, Turning Point? Amazing. Kimberly, thank you very much, guys. Do yourselves a favor, get yourself a Kimberly. Okay? She is a rock. She's gotten me through a rather rough week, as you may have heard. My mother passed last week, and that would normally be really hard to be at a place like this right now and try to have some energy. So if I'm like low energy Jeb, I hope you guys will forgive me. You'll let it slide this once if I'm not my normal charming, somewhat vicious self. Love you guys too. But I'm here because it matters, and because I know my mom would want me to be here, because the reason I got political young was because she escaped from communism. And I see where this country is going. I see where our leaders, and I'll use that term in air quotes because, I mean, give me a freaking break already, right? These guys couldn't lead anything. But because our leaders are taking us down that path. My mom was so strong and felt so strongly about that, she literally shipped me to communist Czechoslovakia in the 80s for like 6 weeks every summer so that I could see with my own eyes what that shit was like. And I promise you guys, if you're gonna wait in line for something, it's better to wait in line for an iPhone than it is for a loaf of bread. I've waited in those lines. I've seen what that system does to smart, hard-working.
Kamala in the chat, are you actually pro-Trump? Because I would love to talk with you if you are on the stream.
Good people, how it just zaps all the incentive out of them. I lived it. My first real experience of fear, I remember, was the first time I went over there. My grandfather's picking me up at the airport. I land, I'm like 6 years old. And I got pulled out of line by a soldier in, that drab, like olive green communist uniform with an AK over his shoulder, because I was wearing a jean jacket with stars on it. Now, I was like 6, and this is the 80s, Okay, so forgive me, but it was cool at the time. And I was questioned as to whether I was there to spread the communist or the imperialist American propaganda. I was 6. I had no idea what any of this meant. But I understood very quickly what oppression was all about. And when you look at what's going on in America right now, you have to ask yourself the same questions. Questions like, if you were trying to destroy America and everything that it stands for, would you do anything differently than what this administration is doing? Not a thing, right? I mean, think about it, right?
Like how? Yes, inflation's high. Yes, gas prices are high. What would be the usage of that to destroy America that would benefit them, whoever they are? We're supposed to believe, okay, that the Democratic Party master planned and stole the 2020 election just so they could implement another master plan to destroy America with high gas prices. Obviously, as I've said many times, when you go into a pandemic where the entire economy takes a massive downturn, you're going to have some less than ideal effects from that. The few years after a crisis like that, you are going to see economic effects that aren't great. Pretending like the economic conditions we're currently experiencing is because what Biden passed the American Rescue Plan. Like, what policy did he do that caused all of this if it really is on his shoulders?
You wouldn't do a thing differently. It's not like, hey, they made a couple bad decisions, let's try to reverse them. No, we have the bad decisions. Cutting off American energy independence, what's the solution? Drill, baby, drill. Right? We have it here. It's not a bad decision at a border. Hundreds of thousands of people on a monthly basis getting stranded, creating a humanitarian crisis, a child sex trafficking crisis, a drug trafficking crisis with a fentanyl scourge killing our children. What would we do? Seems like it'd be such a simple answer. Like, I don't know, maybe finish the wall. Right? Like, it's not rocket science. There's a solution. And yet, what are they doing? Nothing, right? So energy could easily be fixed. They don't want to
Thank you so much, that one monk. That's so sweet.
do it. And they're not even hiding the reason. They're trying to instill their new liberal world order. Right? It's a small price to pay. No. It's a small price for them to pay because nothing's going to happen, right? Joe Biden will still let Hunter make billions on the side. Nancy Pelosi will still insider trade so she can make up whatever difference it is. It's not a small price to pay for you. Whether it's at the gas pump, whether it's on grocery store shelves, it's not a small price to pay for you. And I know that. Because if I'm pissed off when I'm filling my truck as the son of a billionaire, hey, it is what it is, right? Like, if that pisses me off, if I feel it, everyone feels it, guys. You can't hide it anymore. So,
I like that he said that. The part about being a son of a billionaire. Just really, I wish people would recognize how detached and out of touch the people they look up to are in a lot of these political settings.
Energy could be fixed. The border could be fixed, right? Like, literally, for like a small fraction of the $60 billion we've sent to the Ukraine, We could have built the wall, but we don't care about Americans. We don't care about an invasion on our border. We don't care about the tens of thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of people killed through drug trafficking. We don't care about the people who are sexually assaulted along the way. Well, let's send a bunch of corrupt Ukrainian officials, billions. Doesn't matter. There is no amount of money that our politicians won't send them. You see it every day. And even the Rhino Republicans, folks, right? This is a totally bipartisan level of incompetence, grift, and graft. Right? You saw a couple of weeks ago, you had the Ukrainian minister's wife. She was caught crossing the border. I guess it was either into Hungary or Romania. Right? With roller bags. Roller bags filled with $17 million in U.S. cash. How do you think that happens, folks? I don't know. She probably worked a side job really hard. Maybe she has an OnlyFans account. You never know, folks. But I'm sure in the Ukraine, the average salary for the wife of a minister ain't 17 million U.S. cash that she kept under her mattress and wheeled out across the border. That's your money, folks. And they're blowing it every day. We see examples like this on a daily basis. Right? Like the, 86 billion we left to the Taliban. Right? 86 billion to the Taliban. Just so you understand what that means. At about 300 million and change Americans, it's $300 approximately for every man, woman, and child in this country. You left $300 to the Taliban. I'm sure they'll use our weapons to peacefully rule over Afghanistan for the coming decades, right? There won't be people maimed, oppressed, killed, right? They've turned over a new leaf.
Wait, I'm confused. Trump, your father ran on getting out of Afghanistan. Yes, once we leave, it's horrible, the situation that's going to occur. Y'all can tell I'm so tired right now. Ugh. My brain is functioning at half speed. Okay, focus. Yes, whenever you leave a country, or whenever we left Afghanistan, of course, there was going to be a situation where bad people got back in power because we were propping up the Afghanistan, the Afghan government, and we were propping up what was a better option in that country. So when we left, it fell instantly, and caused a situation where the Taliban was able to, gain back power. And that's horrible. Does that mean that we should have just stayed in Afghanistan forever? Is that the solution?
The Taliban, a terrorist organization who we were at war with for 20 years, we left them, 70,000 M4 fully automatic machine guns? Now, they don't want you, as an American citizen, to have an AR-15, a semi-automatic weapon. They don't know the difference, but they're still making rules around these things, right? But the Taliban can have 70,000 fully automatic M4s. They can have Apache helicopters, folks. Think about it. This is the people in America who are making decisions. They're okay with this. They don't think about how many tens of thousands of people will be killed, maimed, oppressed by a terrorist regime. Our generals testified before Congress that they, quote,
I will say, as far as speech advice goes, you want dynamics in your speech, right? Just like in a song, you don't want it to just be not the entire time. And you also don't want to be the entire time. You want to get into some quieter portions. I think Ted Cruz actually did a good job on the dynamics piece, even though obviously we disagree with the content of the speech. But you want to kind of, get into a story, be telling a thing, and then as you increasingly get angry, you go to a big crescendo. But he's just screaming the entire time. So it's just like, everything's a... Okay, calm down. You can get there for a moment when you're making a big point, but if the whole speech is that, it's irritating.
Could not have seen this coming. Really? I saw it coming. I saw it coming, and let's just say I know jack shit about Afghanistan. When that was all going on that week, I was picking up my 9-year-old son. We were going to like a father-son dinner we do every week, and I was picking him up at school, and we were talking. He's literally asking, he's 9 years old. Hey, Dad, why would they leave all those weapons to the Taliban? I don't understand. And I felt like an idiot because I'm sitting there being like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, but Dad, you know all this stuff. I was like, it's hard to explain stupidity to a 9-year-old, right? Because it's so clear to him. Hey, Dad, why would they pull out? Why would they pull out the military before the civilians, Dad? I don't understand. It's like, I don't either. Hey, Dad, how come the general said they couldn't have seen this coming? Haven't they been doing, general shit for the last 20 years?
Good night, Doug.
Where maybe they should have seen it coming? Yes, son. Yes, they probably should have seen it coming. You know who saw it coming? Everybody! Everybody saw it coming. But the military spends too much time making sure that everyone understands the 9,476 pronouns. And there's probably been a couple added in the 7 minutes.
Do you know what a pronoun is? There's only a limited number of pronouns. I think he's thinking of their talking point around gender, where some people have, I can't right now, guys. I can't do the whole speech again. Most people agree on, all of this. And then they take out the most wild examples to pretend like people have wild views.
Since I've been speaking, no one knows what the hell they are. No one can even care. The foremost experts in this shit have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They're just making it up as they go along. But they're teaching that. I have a buddy, I won't mention which team, but he was literally in the SEAL teams, and he told me they spend more time on diversity and inclusion training than they do shooting.
Yeah, that's not true. That's just he just lied. I have a bunch of people that I know who are in the military because of the participation of my brothers, and literally all of them get trained the snot out of, especially if you're going into anything special operations related. I'm sure they teach some about diversity and inclusion, but most of what they're doing is on the ground, hardcore type training, and then obviously lots of kind of classroom style teaching as well. Joe, thank you so much, Joe. Send another super chat. He said go to bed. I'll go to bed after Don Jr.'s speech.
I don't know about you folks. I love my trigger time, but I really, really, really like it when my SEAL friends have trigger time so that they can kill the bad guys that want to kill us. Not a great way to win battles when you're asking they, them, and figuring out what the hell they're talking about on the battlefield. Like, we're the laughingstock of the world with this stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah. This stuff goes all across the developed world. Everything we're seeing is something that's okay. I don't care. I don't even care. We're just gonna watch. I don't even care about debunking what he's saying. But the point of that is that all of these topics are also being discussed in colleges across, Europe and stuff like that.
You guys saw it, right? It doesn't just end there with the incompetence. You saw that. Remember the Army recruitment video? You guys remember that? Well, there's two good ones. There's the Army recruitment one, and then the one that was actually maybe even worse was the CIA one, right? The Army recruitment one, it looks like you're recruiting a Disney princess, right? It was like, it started off with a girl with two moms. Like, no one cares. Like, what does that have to do with the Army? Like, no one cares, I can assure you. But they're trying so hard. The one that really got me was the CIA recruitment video.
Okay, you know what? I am responding to this stupid stuff. Okay, you want to know why they did that? Was it super cringy? Oh my goodness, Joe. Thank you so much for another massive super chat. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love watching politics. He loves watching politics. Good. I love watching politics too. Yeah. Okay. So back to thank you so much for that super chat. That's amazing. What were we talking about? Oh, the recruitment video. You want to know why they're doing that weird sort of cringy video about, I'm whatever. The reason is because the military has a certain reputation and they're having a hard time recruiting. So they're trying to open up to people of other walks of life than just the intense, stereotype of like a conservative guy from the South. And so they did their best shot at that turned out to be kind of cringy. But that was the idea. Saying, hey, even if you come from different backgrounds, we want you to be a part of the military because they're having a hard time recruiting right now for the military, and that's why.
Because I can assure you that this is not someone that you'd want on the front lines of the defense of this nation. Remember that guy?
Thank you again, Joe. That's humongous.
I have extreme anxiety. I'm like, this guy will break in 2 seconds when questioned by the Chinese. Like, the over-under is 2 seconds. I'm taking the under. He's just going to give, they allowed me to play games. And they were incredibly welcoming. I'm like, this is your recruitment video? I'm like, what are you recruiting for? You wonder if they're being punked, right? I'm waiting for, Ashton Kutcher to...
I feel like this is... Why aren't you giving a prepared speech? This is so random and disconnected, and it sounds like you're just kind of spitballing up there, improving, coming up with random stories to tell. It's really weird.
To jump out of a cake and be like, I'm just kidding, guys. It's all been one big joke. Right? You remember, we were talking about the generals in Afghanistan. And then you saw the State Department, because I've been told that the adults are back in charge at the White House, right? And at State Department, the adults are back in charge, right? Doesn't seem to be working out all that well, but that's just me. I am biased, but I can also see. The adults are so back in charge that when testifying, Secretary of State Blinken got up on a world stage. And when questioned about the Taliban, he said, and I quote, he is shocked and dismayed that the Taliban did not install a more diverse and inclusive government in Afghanistan. I'm like, wait a minute. I can understand if you're dismayed. I mean, everyone has hopes. Everyone has dreams. You may be dismayed. You're really shocked? Did you think, I don't know, that maybe the women and children that they've put into sexual slavery over the last few decades, do you think they were going to have a big seat at the table? Do you think maybe that, the gay people that they've thrown off buildings and filmed and videoed and put gleefully all over the internet, do you think that they would have a strong seat at the table? Secretary Blinken, did you think that there'd be a huge trans coalition, since that's all the rage these days? Did you think the Taliban would have a big coalition of that? Shocked? I don't know. I'm not shocked. I'm shocked at how freaking stupid these people are. I'm shocked that we allow them to get away with it. But I'm not shocked at the way they're acting. They're doing what they do. We're pretending to live in a world that does not exist. You see it day in and day out. You see it with the lies that they're pushing on you. You see it with the attacks on conservatives. You see it in the censorship each and every day. But that's why it's awesome to be in crowds like this, in groups like this, right? You guys are now, you would have never said this about conservatives in history. You guys are actually the rebels. You're not buying the narrative. You're not believing the nonsense. You're fighting against the man each and every day. And it's an honor for me to be in that fight with you guys. Honestly, it's another one of the big reasons why I do this. Part of it, like I said earlier, it started out in my youth. I saw the other side, right? You notice how, there's never, someone who's actually lived in real socialism actually advocating for it? Meaning, if these systems are so freaking wonderful, you'd think there'd be, all these people. I don't know, we're in Florida.
He needs to just chill out his arms. They're going crazy. Nobody who's a mainstream progressive is advocating for socialism like what he's talking about, or communism in the countries. Now, they think socialism is the government doing anything, so in that sense, I guess people would be, but none of us want the systems of government that you're talking about in countries that have all of the problems that you're identifying. We do want to take some notes from countries in Europe who have better healthcare systems than us, and maybe better college systems, better, child care support, stuff like that. But no one's saying, hey, we should try out the, Venezuelan model or something, the Cuban model under Castro. No. We're saying, hey, some of these systems that we don't currently have work really well in other countries, namely, many European countries and, every developed country but us in many of these cases. We should adopt some of those. That's what we're saying. It's not that hard, not that complicated.
How about, are there a lot of Cubans? Are they wait. Are you advocating for socialism? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay. Venezuelans. Are you advocating for No, none of those communities are. Because they've seen it. They've seen what it does. Whether it was Cuba, whether it was Venezuela more recently, these were thriving countries until we implemented these systems that zap all of that. It does. It's failed every time they've tried to implement it. You know who benefits from it? The elite. Like I said, guys, hey, I can assure you, for me, in my life, it would have been a whole lot easier and more lucrative to sit down and shut up, to not get in this fight, to not be engaged, okay, to not do anything, for my father, even if he did it, whatever it may have been. It would have been much easier. But you can't do it. You have to actually stand up and fight, which is why you guys are so important, right? This is about you. This is about your future. The youth of this country, you're the guys that are going to inherit this mess, right? I'm happy to help lead this charge, but you guys are going to have to take over. And again, we're not in a fair fight if you haven't been watching, folks, right? We're not in a fair fight. You've seen it. Who here has been in, like, social media prison? Yeah. Have you ever noticed it only goes one way? Yeah, like, you know.
Jared suggested we watch Mothers Against Greg Abbott. Let's check it out. Mothers Against Greg Abbott. Nothing changes with Spanish subtitles? Whose choice? Which one is it? Let's see. What are we looking for here? This one? Whose choice?
Thank you for your patience. There's no easy way to say this, but your baby has a catastrophic brain abnormality.
What does that mean?
It means that parts of her brain didn't form. Your daughter, if she is to survive, will live only a matter of hours after birth. During that time, she will experience a multitude of seizures and ultimately aspirate on her own bodily fluids. She will suffer. A decision will need to be made on termination. I wish I could tell you what to do, but there is only one person who can make this choice.
How much time do I have?
And that person is Greg.
Greg?
Who the f*** is Greg?
Yeah, let me just give him a call. Hey, Greg. Dr. Robinson here. Listen, I've got a pregnancy that could... Yes? But I think this one is the... Yes, okay. Sure. Okay, I'll let them know. Yeah. That's gonna be a no. Best of luck to you.
Love it. It's true. Yeah, and we've seen a few examples of already, because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the laws implemented in states like Texas, people will end up having situations where the fetus dies in their uterus and they're not able to get it removed in a timely manner because the surgery of getting a fetus that has died removed is the same as, getting an abortion. And so they have to go through all these processes, and during that time you're now at huge risk of getting a disease based on the dead fetus that causes you to be infertile forever. So, like, devastating stuff being caused because of this. All right, I've had enough of Don Jr. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna wrap it up there. I'm hitting a wall as far as my energy goes. I thought I was gonna be more energetic since I was in California, so I thought my body clock would be 2 hours earlier, but nope, I am pooped. So I'm gonna go. Thank you all. Thank you again, Joe Pierce, for the massive super chat contributions. Amazing.